Welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it's all about classic bodybuilding. So, I've heard a lot of people say both positive and negative things about Arnold, and I wanted to make this video to share you my opinion of the man himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You guys probably know he's my favorite bodybuilder of all time, but I will make this video as unbiased as possible, giving you the facts, but also, of course, my opinion. So there are people saying Arnold had the best chest of all time, the best biceps of all time, and also people defending him whenever even somebody like Phil Heath says something negative about him, such as having no legs. But there are also people saying that he simply had a world-class structure and that it was easy for him to put muscle on his frame because he had elite genetics. People say that you can't really get arms or a chest like Arnold's if you don't have the genetics to build muscle in that way. So my personal opinion and take on this is that both sides are partly right, and here's why. As I have seen many videos and footage of Arnold working out, speaking of his mentality and motivation, I realize that his work ethic is second to none. People even claim that if he was in his prime today, that it would still be Mr. Olympia, as he would simply do anything that it takes to get to the top. But this is for another video. However, as you can see right here, I'm showing different exercises here that Arnold is doing. They all look familiar. The dumbbell flies, the bent over row, the T-bar row, but they are all different. And to truly understand, you will have to try them out yourself. I have demonstrated the way Arnold performs some of these exercises throughout my own workout videos, for example using the T-bar row with a true full range of motion, the same with the bent over row. The very fact that he executed these exercises in this fashion already speaks volumes of how much he was into perfecting his craft. You don't even see this type of execution nowadays anymore, not even by the top bodybuilders. Secondly, the way he speaks about bodybuilding even today keeps amazing me. The passion he has for it, despite having made millions of dollars with other avenues, is still very much alive. He realized back then, and still does, that the art of bodybuilding is just as important, if not more important, than the physique itself.
But when you have guys come out one after the next to just go, they barely can get their breath together, and then they hit the shot, and then the stomach hangs out. In the old days, you always had to bring something else to the table in order to be a champion.
He also took ballet classes when he was younger in order to get his choreography down and to learn how to use his own body to make his posing as fluent as possible. And trust me, posing as fluently as he did is no easy task. The fact that he makes it look easy actually makes it that much harder to replicate. Nowadays, it is difficult to grasp what bodybuilding is about anymore, despite it stemming from the very era where Arnold is from. He made bodybuilding as famous as it is today. There are so many variations of physical manifestations nowadays that it was almost impossible for a good while to actually witness true bodybuilding, the actual art of one's physique. Back in the 70s, Arnold only had a massive physique, but also grace and flow along with it, which he effortlessly seemed to emulate during his posing routines. Having the mindset of wanting to sculpt a body into an art form before even considering building mass without class makes building a massive physique like his even more challenging. And this is because it isn't about mindlessly building as much mass as possible, but staying true to oneself from the very beginning to the end. And a good example of this is his practice of the vacuum. He deemed it very important that he looked narrow from the side because he knows his own weak points. He knows his V-taper and waist would look much better if he never, but I mean never, showed to anybody that he didn't have a flat stomach. He was like performing a permanent stomach vacuum. Obviously, he had nothing like the bubble guts of today, but any human being, when you have a relaxed stomach, it's going to stick out at one point or another. But try to find that of Arnold, and you cannot find one single picture.
You can come with the biggest stomach that you want, but don't show it. I had many weak points when I was competing, even when I was winning the Olympia, and I tried to hide it as much as I could. So try to hide and try to keep it in and don't show it. Protect yourself at all times.
Nowadays, we do have the classic physique class, obviously much more aesthetic than the big bodybuilders, aka big fauna of modern times. However, almost all of these classic physique competitors still don't really come close to what Arnold had. And of course, these classic physiques, they look incredible, but it is still hard to make a good comparison. Arnold was the perfect combination of mass and aesthetics, way before bodybuilding was mainstream. However, he did have certain body parts that stood out from the rest. Despite working every body part multiple times a week and working out for hours on a daily, he still had some weaknesses. When comparing his strong body parts such as chest and biceps to his legs, for example, there seems to be a difference in mass. Nowadays, there are a lot of bodybuilders with legs better than Arnold, but their arms or chest don't even come close. It is safe to say that Arnold had great genetics overall, but especially so for biceps and chest. He has had these developed body parts even before he turned 20, and this is not to say he didn't work incredibly hard for achieving his physique, but if his genetics weren't as good for these body parts, they would not have stood out as much despite working just as hard for them. In summary, Arnold knew exactly what to do and how to train in order to make his physique the best possible artwork he could create. His work ethic is to be commended, and he truly had a passion for not just training, but especially the art form of building one's physique and displaying it at its maximum potential. This is what made him so good and above the rest during his reign. Yes, he also had great genetics, but if it wasn't for his hard work, he would have never achieved what he had in the 70s and what he has today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you guys for watching. And don't forget to stay golden.